Blackhawks blow a late lead and lose 3-2 to the Jets in Winnipeg. Now, the Jets scored first in this game pretty early on, only 4 minutes in. The Jets striked first, but the Blackhawks answered back later in the first period. It was Teuvo Teravainen. He now has 3 goals in his last 2 games as he's following a multi-goal performance in Utah, but he scored on the power play in this one. It was off a feed from Frank Nazar. Connor Bedard picked up the secondary assist, and Teuvo just ripped a nice shot from the slot. That tied the game, and it was tied 1-1 through 2 periods. Kind of a similar game script to recent games that we've watched, where there's not a ton of chances either way, and that may be to credit of the Blackhawks, who are playing solid defensive hockey. They're keeping their opponents to the outside now, especially in these last 2 games versus especially a Jets team that doesn't really generate a lot of offense no matter who they play. The Blackhawks did do a good job, though, of keeping things that way and not letting the Jets generate any chances. So it was 1-1 through 2 periods. The Blackhawks got the next goal. It was Ryan Green off a feed from Connor Bedard. Green roofed a shot top shelf. It was a perfect shot from Green. Nice to see him finish. It was for his 8th goal of the season, and it was 2-1 Blackhawks through almost all the rest of the game. But with 38 seconds left or so, Cole Perfetti just ripped a shot with the 6-on-5 advantage, and it went past Spencer Knight. I think it was through the 5-hole or under his left pad. But whatever it was, it tied the game at 2, pushed the game to overtime, where Mark Scheifele scored the overtime winner for the Jets. Definitely a disappointing loss, especially from the players' perspective. I'm sure they're a little bit hurt by this one, as they played pretty well for a majority of the game, but ultimately only came out with 1 point. Now, from our perspective, I think there's still a decent amount to take away from this game. And for me, the biggest stuff is on the back end. Well, the big storyline heading into this, the big storyline, but the storyline heading into this game was Ethan Del Mastro being recalled from Rockford. They brought him on a plane, got him into Winnipeg. He wasn't at morning skate, but he suited up and was in the lineup over Kevin Korchinski for this game. I think this does say a lot about kind of how the Blackhawks feel right now, especially Jeff Blashill feels about Kevin Korchinski. It doesn't seem like there's a system match at all. Korchinski played 8.5 and then 10.5 minutes in the 2 games he's been up, whereas Del Mastro tonight played over 15 minutes. It kind of just shows how much they prefer a guy like Del Mastro, who just is a little bit stronger, a little bit more reliable in the defensive zone right now. But yeah, especially being stronger, better in front of the net, and better in the corners, especially that's kind of more of Del Mastro's game as opposed to Korchinski. And obviously Blashill and the Blackhawks system favors that a lot more. That's why Del Mastro got a lot more ice time. And that's why they called him up from Rockford to play in this game when they really didn't need to. They had Korchinski available. I don't really get it. I would definitely prefer to see Korchinski get some run to end this season so you can at least see what you have, but it seems like maybe Blashill's already seen enough or whatever it may be, but this doesn't fare well for any Korchinski fans hoping that he's going to work out in Chicago. I don't want to overreact to just today, but this was a pretty bad sign that the Blackhawks really don't have any confidence in Kevin Korchinski. To Del Mastro's credit, I thought he did play pretty well in this game, especially for kind of being a last-minute call-up, not even getting to play or a practice in morning skate this morning. I thought he played pretty well. He had 3 blocks, a shot, 2 hits in over 15 minutes of ice time. So I thought he did hold his own in this game. He was paired up with Sam Renzel. That duo played pretty well. Renzel looked good in this game as well. Renzel played over 22 minutes after missing the previous 2 games with illness. I thought Artie Levchinov had a good game as well, especially his first period I thought was fantastic. And I was watching him closely because I've been interested to see how he's responding to kind of the couple of game layoff he got before the break. He got the big break and just how he's going to settle in here. And I thought he played really well in this game. He was a dash too. I guess towards the end of the game, it wasn't the sharpest, but especially to start, that first period was fantastic. And then also with Connor Murphy gone, Louis Crevier kind of stepped up and took a lot more defensive zone start shifts in this game. According to Money Puck, 8 defensive zone shift starts for Louis Crevier. Alex Vlasic had 6, so that duo was relied upon heavily defensively. Another thing I'm watching for, and I think I mentioned this in one of my recent videos, but I kind of am excited to see Artem Levchinov step into more of a penalty killing role. Now, the Jets only had 2 power play opportunities, and I think one of them was very abbreviated. Louis Crevier and Alex Vlasic both played a minute and a half of that penalty kill time, but then Artem Levchinov and Matt Grizzly both played 45 seconds in this game, so basically that's the second penalty killing unit defensively for the Blackhawks, and I'm very excited to see how Artie reacts to that and how he plays in those minutes. I've said this before. I think he's kind of built for a penalty killing role just with how strong he is and how well he plays in front of the net. So I am excited to see him in that role and get some more run with that opportunity to end this season. Connor Bedard had 2 assists in this game. He assisted and factored in on both Blackhawks goals. Frank Nazar picked up an assist. I thought he looked a little bit more like himself in this game, but still not fully there. This may be the last game we see from Jason Dickinson and Ilya Mikheyev. Now, Dickinson was not very noticeable in this one, but Mikheyev was. He had a lot of jump in this game. He had one chance in particular where he started in the defensive zone. It was the D-zone faceoff, and he just burst up and grabbed the puck, skated all the way in for a real nice chance, an end-to-end, coast-to-coast rush. So that was a highlight for Mikheyev in this one, but it could potentially be the last game for both of those guys. We'll see. The reports still make it seem like it's kind of a toss-up whether either of those guys get traded before Friday's trade deadline, but the Blackhawks don't play again until Friday night after the trade deadline passed, so we may very well have seen the last Jason Dickinson or Ilya Mikheyev game. Now, I mentioned from a player's perspective, this loss probably is going to hurt a little bit, but long-term, especially from our perspective, might not be the worst thing in the world. The Blackhawks blew that lead late and kind of sacrificed a point. They are now up to 28th in the standing, so they actually dropped a spot in terms of lottery odds, as Calgary now is statistically worse than the Blackhawks, but the Flames have 2 games in hand, and if they win one of those, they'll go right back ahead of the Blackhawks. But this could be kind of an important loss, and if you're looking at it from a lottery perspective, I kind of try to hit both angles in these recaps, especially down the stretch here. That's what I'm going to try to do. So the Jets are right now just 1 spot above the Blackhawks in the league standings, so it could end up being they could be in that lottery conversation. So for them to get 2 points instead of 0 in this game is pretty important if you're looking at it from that perspective. The Canucks obviously have last place locked up really at this point, and then the Blues and Rangers are going full tank mode. JT Miller was placed on IR for the Rangers today. Robert Thomas has been in trade rumors. Seems like the Blues are kind of considering a huge fire sale. I've seen Jordan Binnington, Justin Falk all be in trade rumors these past few days. I'm hoping not many of them get moved because I want the Blues to be decent so that the Blackhawks can get in this lottery conversation, and especially if they can get in the bottom 3, that's really the spot you want to be for this draft. As you can see, bottom 3 is really where the best odds are, especially like a 2% jump from 4 to 3 and from 3 to 2 is a pretty big difference, because once you get to 4 to 5, it's just 1%. And so forth and so on. It shrinks as you go down the list. So if you could really get in that top 3 conversation and really try to get a top 4 pick, that would be big time. If you're landing here, if you sit here at 3, only a 30% chance you're not in the top 4. Whereas if you're at 4, there's a 65% chance you're picking outside the top 4. So I really feel like the gap from 4 to 3 is pretty big. So this is just going to be something to monitor moving forward. The Rangers and Blues, though, they're really doing their best to fall down the standings and get the best draft lottery odds. So it's going to be tough for the Blackhawks, who I do feel like are kind of too good to completely just blow it up the rest of the season. Like, I don't think they're going to just lose out, just because I think there are too good of a team. But it is going to be worth monitoring the Blackhawks pretty much out of the playoff picture. They're out of the playoff picture at this point. So the lottery odds are worth monitoring here down the stretch. Let's move now to some takeaways from this game. I always go over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus to my takeaways post. First one says they played well, just didn't get the breaks. Young D played great. Top line worked a goal. Promising effort. Del Mastro played well. No complaints, but the result. I do think this was a good game. The Blackhawks played pretty well in this game. It just really came down to that last little 45-second stretch with the net empty for Winnipeg, where they just couldn't get this done. It really felt like after the Jets scored first early on, that the Blackhawks played really well and deserved to win the game. So it is kind of unfortunate, especially from a team perspective, for them to lose this one and blow it late. Thought they played well, but another blown lead. It's good for the draft, but bad for the young team. I want Del Mastro to stay with the big club. Yeah, I kind of agree with everything there, and especially if they're not going to give Korchinski a look down the stretch, maybe they've kind of already decided Korchinski's just not going to be a guy, then yeah, I totally agree. Give Del Mastro some run as well. See if he could be someone. I don't think he has like a top pair potential, but if he could be an NHLer, you do want to know that. You want to figure these things out down the stretch. Better draft position and distance created between them and Winnipeg. Kids played solid, nothing to be mad at. if you're looking at the bigger picture. Completely agree there. Nazar looked better. Connor playing amazing out of the break. Team has looked better every game post break. Great 50 minutes of hockey, bad 10 minutes. Costly mistake by Lev in OT is what it is, though. I also agree with this one here. Nazar did look better. Hopefully, he can continue to build on this moving forward. This was definitely his best game in probably a few months. Bedard has been amazing coming out of the break. Yeah, he could have so many more goals than what he does right now, or so many more points. He's playing just so good hockey. I wouldn't say they played great, but I thought the Hawks played pretty well for a team that only got 3 points on this trip. Certainly would have been nice to get more, especially since you had a lead in every game. That's a great point. The Blackhawks did come away only with 3 points on this road trip, but they led in that Nashville game. They blew that one in the third period. I didn't think they played great in that game, but they did hold a third period lead. The Colorado game, they played with Colorado. It was a 2-1 game throughout most of it until Colorado got that late empty netter, and then they win the Utah game, which was one of the better games of the season. And then this one tonight, they play really well for 50-55 minutes, and then they just blow it late. So I guess there's kind of positives there that they are playing well. They are playing good hockey. And again, if you're looking at it from more of a draft long-term perspective, which I understand not everybody likes to do, but if you are looking at it from that angle, then maybe this is best case scenario. That's going to do it for this one. My next video may very well be a trade recap video, as the trade deadline is going to hit before the next Blackhawks game. Hawks play Friday night, so if there are no moves, then that will be my next video, a post-game recap after that game versus Vancouver.